Okay, so in the sci-fi flick Rubicon, now it we have gone down this road before, right? But it was like, oh, what can a Magdalena Lauritsch bring to this kind of story, right? She directs and she co-writes with Jessica Lind and Elisabeth Schmied. It is produced by Klaus Graf, Loredana Rehakumpf, and Andrea Schmidt. Okay. Um, Music is from Daniel Helmer, Wolf, Maximilian Leibich. Okay, cinematography is Zayas Han and Andreas Talhammer. It is edited by Anna Hus and Christopher Luidi. Production design is Johannes Moik. Art direction is Robert Heuschstugu. Costume design is Monica Buttinger. And our cast. It's a small cast. We have got Julie Franz Richer as Captain Hannah Wagner. We have George Blagden as Gavin Abbott. We have Mark Evina as Dmitry Kula. We've got Nicholas Munu as Philippe Jensen. Daniela Kong as Tracy Sato. We have Konstantin Frolov as Danil Krolov. Yeah, Dimitri's son. Hannah Rang as Kumpf. We've got Labicia Gushik as Sergio and Johannes Gerzabek as Little Kumpf. Right, Stephanie Cannon is also Esther. Okay, so the gist of this flick, people, it is, it's simple, right? The events follow a catastrophe on Earth. The planet is covered in a toxic fog. The crew in the space station Rubicon must decide whether to risk their lives to get home and search for survivors or stay safe in the station's algae symbiosis system. Right, so essentially the space station is using algae to produce oxygen. So as long as there's people on it giving it H2O, right, everything is gravy. So this film, right, it's it's an indie flick. It's crazy, right? Because indie flicks, right, low budget films can now look so good, and this looks fantastic, right? Like just all the visual effects. So space and the space station, the rockets, the planet views, all of that looks stunning. Straight stunning, people, for real, right? And then on the ship itself, on Rubicon, again, everything looks pretty slick, pretty slick. All right. So the story, like it's one of those ones that's, as I said, look, we've seen it before, right? So we've got Gavin and Hannah. We have them arrive at the station. some problems, but hey, they managed to do it. And then a mission goes wrong, everything goes to hell. It's a bit crazy. The it kind of takes doesn't take a while to get going, but it takes a while for like the real kind of situations to kick in. And in that time, and which is fine, right? In that time, we don't unfortunately really get a real kind of I feel for the characters, I would say. Right now, there's things we know that surface level stuff, right? But I kind of think for something like this and some of the actions people take, we need more, right? We need more to really go, oh, that's why they made that decision. There's a lot of them you see and you're just like, eh, what? Right? And here's the thing. When you're trying to kill yourself, there's certain ways that you'd be like, and I think what we saw, not pleasant, right? Not pleasant. So it's a bit like, yo, why wouldn't you do one of the many things we know, which would have been a lot easier, right? Because also there's characters that don't particularly give you the sense that they're all about the hard way. You know what I mean? Like you kind of feel if there's an easy way of doing something, yeah, that's them. That's them. You know? So it's a little bit, and that's the thing. I think with more exploration of these characters, I think there's these moments that would have really stuck even more. You feel me? Right? We have the obligatory love situation, right? And even in that, which is it kind of comes out of nowhere, right? Kind of comes out of nowhere. Now, when people have been in close confines for a long period of time, you get it, right? We've seen it. You may have lived it. It's just something we know. We know this happens. Technically, though, I think they've been there for a month. So it's not a crazy long amount of time, But yeah, when they're in this situation, there's still like, you kind of think, why wouldn't you? Surely you'd have had that conversation, right? And there's certain things they just don't talk. They clearly have not spoken about because you get these reactions and things later on. It's just like, okay, right? That feels a bit odd, right? How is it you haven't had that? Like, what are you doing? I mean, there's things they could be doing, right? But in the afterglow, what I mean? In the other time, there's things that you'd have thought you would talk about, and they clearly do not. I would say there's a nice little twist with the corporation. That was all right. That wasn't bad. I enjoyed that. You know, acting was solid. Yeah, the acting was solid. It wasn't terrible. I just think, yeah, with this, it's just some of these issues with the script. With the way these people act, right? And like people doing things, and you're like, fine, fine, but how would I know, right? Because you don't get a sense of these characters really. So it's just like when they do these things, you're like, oh yeah, I can see. Yeah, why wouldn't they, right? Yeah, of course. And so it's a bit, yeah, it doesn't maybe carry the punch which it could do. You know what I mean? I think that's That's the big thing here. That's the big thing, right? But not a bad flick, I would say, right? If you enjoy the Twilight Zone, you know what I mean? I think the Outer Limits, this would work, you know, because it's not a groundbreaking story, but it's okay, right? It's okay. It's unoffensive. You know, we get things happen, and you can be like, "Ooh." It's just, yeah, you're not gonna be like, "Oh man, felt for that character." Like, oh, really hit me when they did this thing. Because yet we don't have that emotional connection, unfortunately. You know? But it is now available on all your favorite VODs, people. So if you're, in the market for a, little indie sci-fi flick, like a space station story, you like an end of the world story, then Rubicon could be the joint for you.